So wherever you are, however you are, whoever you seem to be at this particular time, these are all conditions. Wherever you seem to be, that's a condition established through consciousness, sights, sounds, memories. However you feel, that's a condition established by consciousness, dependent on sensations, atmospheres, health, mental balance, peacefulness, whatever, that's conditioned. Whoever you feel you are, that's a condition based upon surveying or experiencing this field of feelings, sensations, memories, perceptions, surveying that field. And with the sense, the default sense, this is what I am. Now, of course, the world of felt experiences, sense contact, memories, health conditions, and so forth is extremely complex fabric, material of consciousness, extremely complex and often intensely felt. What can we do? What can be done about that? Well, very simply speaking, though it takes skill and reminder, is just this disengage from doing anything about it. Even reflex, like sometimes it's difficult not to get stirred or excited or disappointed or whatever. But wherever you can, okay, that's part of it. That also is part of it. The one thing that we should avoid or try to get some perspective on is this saying, considering, this is what I am. That's not necessary. That doesn't, we're not saying anything about the qualities of body, mind, sense consciousness. That's that. Good, bad, why it's like this, how it's like this, where it comes from, where it stops even. But just to refrain, step back from that self-conscious regarding. It's like this now. This is true. Isn't it? It's like this now. That's true, isn't it? Can we take a stand on a truth that's undeniable? Whether it's because I ate too much or I'm got illness or whatever, why it's like this, but we can say it is like this now. And what that does is it causes a disengagement from karma, the karmic field, and an alignment to truth. Truth is like this now. What am I going to do about it, or what can be done about it, is sort of guesswork, really. Where it came from, don't really know exactly. I can make some deductions or assumptions, but that's not as true as it's like this now. There's no arguing with that. It's absolutely, totally rock solid. And what happens if we find this way in its perspective to not move away from that field or deduce anything from it or infer anything from it, but just, if one thinks, to step back to truth. And what it should, ought to, shouldn't, why, that's another level, that's another thing. And as soon as those inclinations take over, they should. He didn't. They never. Why am I? I don't deserve, but surely it should be. And why is that? What's the reason for that? How did that happen? Why don't people, as soon as that occurs, everything starts moving, seething around in that field. Check it out. And if we say, taking up Buddha, taking up Buddha, trying to draw back to that alignment of Buddha arising in that clarity, unquestionable clarity. First thing that establishes that is to be absolutely true. It's like this now. Yeah. It might change. Generally, the experiences, things do change. But even that is not so sure as it's like this now. It's not about action. It's about alignment. If that realization, which is not action, which is not a denial, which is not fudging issues, it's not fighting with anything, it's not claiming anything, it doesn't do anything. That's its beauty. That's the still point. It's the only still point. Do you see? And what can occur with that asseveration of truth, that statement of truth, the power of truth? There's a sense, there's a still point, and there's maybe some shifting, emotional turbulence in the field of karma. Yeah. Yeah. But we're not in it. We're with it, we're not in it. And you stay there. And this asseveration of truth determination of truth, clarity, disengagement, dispassion. Any response that seems appropriate from that place is worth following. And probably the first response, if there is any, will be just, so it is. Kind of, it's a sad, if you like, it's a sobering regard. There is stress. It's empathic, it's sympathetic. There is stress. No blaming, no whose fault it is. There is stress. This is what Buddha sees. What would be for the world? What would be the response to that? Maybe already we've moved too far. The eagerness to check that stress. Maybe we've already moved too far. Can we just perhaps, it's like this now. Till that tide of karma itself, that field of experience itself, through the power of that truth, begins to settle, clarify. Oh, well, that was just that. It doesn't really matter. Oh, well. It starts to, wisdom begins to rise within that. This is not worth engaging with. This is worth engaging with. We're no longer flooded by karma, the field of karma. While in our brief meditation this morning, just practicing, the upright body, have your eyes open or closed as you like, surveying the field. What's happening for you, wherever you are, however you are. It's like this now. Okay, there's no distinct end to this meditation because this is life. This perspective covers all of it. One should never lose this perspective. But the nature of the condition, situation we've involved with is that there can be a period of time to form, present questions or comments, and I will do my best to respond in accordance with my limitations. So take some time, don't be in a hurry. And again, I'll kind of move around at random so you don't have to compete as to who gets it in first. And open the chat box. Okay, so some thoughts are trickling in. And by all means, just sit back and listen if that feels good. Someone's asking about accepting my own aging. Grey hair growing on the head. Well, it's intellectually obvious. That's what happens. Emotionally, it can be difficult. If you identify with the state of the body, like it's my head, when you see other people with grey hair, does it disturb you? So you look around the room, it seems there's quite a few people with grey hair who seem to be just as steady as everybody else. No. Yeah. It's the nature of the body. It's not a self, it's not a person. So when you see that, and there are occasions in the suttas where somebody, some king or great minister or somebody sees the first grey hair on their head and they, uh-oh. And they immediately say, okay, that's it. Give it all up, go forth into homelessness. It's called one of the heavenly messengers. Suddenly all this, the joy of life, the joy of youth, the kind of excitement, passion, vigor of youth suddenly seems a bit like it's past, carnival's over. And they feel it's time to get serious. So one wisely takes the sign of grey hair and reflects upon it. It probably is an indication it's time to get serious about about the state of this inner world, because the outer world is dying. So this is why the Buddha went forth, to realize the deathless. It's not found in the hairs of your head. Absolutely not. So he says, let go of that. Return to this. Person has a question about emptiness. Where this too is empty, just the concept. Well, Buddhism is a very long tradition with different schools and lineages and teachings in it. And so this very term emptiness is held differently to refer to different experiences according to different traditions. We go back to the earliest teachings that we can find. The term emptiness meant two things, well, several things. One, it's not much good. So someone is empty of virtue, they're barren, empty of virtue. That's the other. Yeah, so that. There's also, it's empty of self. The characteristic of self does not arise here. Sunyata, anatta, sunyata. It doesn't mean there's nothing there. It just means the characteristic of self is not there. So, for example, as we're surveying, well, my suggestion, the mind or the karmic field of mind, the contents of mind, it's that. Really, it's empty of self. You can't find a person in that, an entity in that. It just says, or one infers itself, but it isn't. It's just this. That emptiness of self is then very helpful to tune into, because it allows us to witness the world of cause and effect from a mind of dispassion and clarity. And there's a particular meditation that the Buddha meditation process the Buddha talked people through. And it's called the sunyata. If you're interested in that, just look into the middle link sayings for the Mahasunyata Chula Sunyata Suttas. I haven't got the names, but it's pretty easy to find. And the process of emptiness as a practice is to see this is there when that's so. Sitting in this room is empty of elephants. Yeah, notice that what isn't there. Okay, right. That lack of elephants is quite peaceful because elephants are big, noisy creatures. Oh, that's good. Right now, So then it says, look into this again. This room is actually, there's walls, there's flowers, there's glass and things like that. Yeah. What's not here, is, a room. The room is an idea that we create. Actually, what's here is some visual perspectives. Right? You can think there's a room here, but actually, as you see on this Zoom screen, you see lots of rooms. But that's just a visual description of certain colors. So there's no room here. There's just visual perceptions arising. Okay, so gradually through that, beginning to withdraw from the mental interpretations of experience. Right? I'm in Rome, I'm in Chittis Monastery, it's Wednesday morning, the sun's shining, da, da, da. Wait a minute, stop. What's that? That's sights, memories, perceptions, impressions. And that's a mental addition. Withdraw from that mental activity, just quieten that mental activity, because you don't need to make that mental activity. What's left? Awareness and perceptions. So this is a way in which you empty this density of mind that we carry around. Tomorrow, my uncle's birthday, so-and-so's got a disease. Yes, we lost the World Cup. Got to do this. There's got an incredible density that we carry around, even though we can't do anything much about it. But what's actually here is awareness, perceptions, feelings, inclinations. And when you look at it like that, how many of those do you want to keep going? Do you want to keep putting energy into? If you put energy into awareness, those mental activities begin to calm down. Your mind becomes empty, quiet, open. That's the practice of emptying. Someone placed the question, based on what has been explained, can I say taking a stance is not sankhara? It is from a place of alignment, dispassionate clarity. Finding that axis, I would say, returning to the axis is the alignment. It's a withdrawal from creation and proliferation and interpretation and confusion. So that's definitely a very important step to make before we can really bring forth clear responses. We have to get clear who's doing the response. If who's doing the response is me wanting it to be this way and feeling problem like that and feeling upset about that and wanting this and hoping it's like that, all that stuff is just adding more turbulence to what's already turbulent. And sometimes the intentions may be good, but the energy is still turbulent. So that withdrawal to that place of no turbulence, then we view this is dukkha. What is the response? Tanha, craving, is not going to make it any better. Cultivate equanimity, cultivate clarity, cultivate truthfulness. Learn through that what to put aside, what to give energy to. This is a life practice. How do you deal with conflict in a mindful way? I personally feel aversion to conflict. Indeed, this avoidance technique does me no good. I like to find balance in this type of situation without getting dragged into them. Well, if this is conflict in terms of even conflict with one's self, I want to do this, but I feel drawn towards that. I feel this is right, but I'm interested in that. You have to find this place of non-alignment, not taking sides one way or another. Just, okay, how is it? And that the more you find that sense of it's like this, the alignment, the clarity, and just steadying it, deepening it, you'll find out that one of those two, you have choices that you're in conflict with, one of those will begin to fade out. It's like this is surface, but it doesn't go that deep. Maybe, I really like this person, but I don't like the way she does this. I really like this person, but at the same time, I really don't like the way she is very untidy. Okay, that's true. And you're upset about it. That's true. So there's me feeling upset, her actions, and my warm feeling towards her. So you just stay with that. It's like this. This is the conflict. What am I supposed to do? Stay with that. And eventually the desperation to get a result, that begins to stop. Maybe there isn't a result. Maybe there's no way out of this. And perhaps from that, one feels more equanimous to how she behaves, or how or one sees one's own shortcomings more clearly. And it's possible to then, find a proper alignment. And it's pretty much internal conflict, external conflict is pretty much the same. It's often we don't like it. You have to be crazy to like conflict. And so often it's who's right and who's wrong. Let's face up to it, you're wrong. And I'm right. Because if I didn't think it was right, I wouldn't do it, would I? So it must be you're wrong. The person feels the same way. So they're right and I'm right from my position, and he's right from his position. And that's not going to go very far, is it? The alignment of we both have positions. We both have positions, and then maybe where's the place where there are no positions? No, the way no positions is there's conflict now, and we don't like it. But here it is. It's like this now. Let's just maybe take a breath. Feel a sense of regret. That's conflict because you don't like it. Feel a sense of, concern. I hope you're not suffering or in pain. Through that expression of concern, then maybe this begins to take the intensity out of the conflict. Really no right. Get who's right and who's wrong is not no way to resolve conflict. Absolutely not. That's the way to intensify it. Yeah. To share the sense of the discomfort of conflict. This is where we meet. We both agree on that. We sit with that for a while, and then maybe, well, I don't really mind, just as long as we can kind of understand each other. That's all. Sort of, and that's the main thing. And recognize that we both have positions. Any position is a condition. Any position is constructed. Any position is unsatisfactory. And all positions are not self. If we take a stand on a position, making it ourself, conflict, pain, suffering. So keep that alignment to just as simple and direct a truth as possible. Not right and wrong, should be, could be, but just pain, dukkha, suffering. It's like this, and I don't like it. How's that for you? Same. Then we get a sense of compassion. And then things begin to, we're no longer on the same place then, we're on the same page, we're on the same territory. There's no, we're meeting at that place of compassion. Next question, can our practice become a self-centered act? As we wish to do more retreats, but sometimes it seems to interfere with family life. Is it always a form of craving? Yes. I think there's craving, there's aspiration and motivation for realization, motivation for realization, motivation for truth, motivation. That's skillful, that's helpful. If we didn't have any motivation, there'd be no energy in our practice. There's motivation for it. Yeah. And so that factor, chanda, or desire, it's a skillful desire, but it can also get tinted with a certain amount of craving. So there's two kinds of desire. Tanha is the craving to have and get, and chanda is the motivation to do. Yeah. And they sometimes they get mixed up. Yeah. Because I really want to have some peace of mind. It doesn't seem, it's quite a noble aspiration. Because I'm going to put the work in to do it. It's not that easy. Yeah, I'm prepared to put in the work. So it's not just this blind grasping. Yeah, and then really, okay, that's where we're staying. And can that quality of chanda, motivation for peace, understanding, elimination of corruptions and defilements and self, can that motivation, this is the enormous question. How does this transfer into the surface? This is a depth experience, right? This is a depth experience. This is not about groceries and gardening and birthday cards and looking after my niece. This is a depth topic. Yeah. I mean, these things can be depth too, maybe, but it's really a transpersonal depth topic. How does any of that translate into a surface world, which is today's Thursday and cousin Susan's having this, that, and the other, and and people want to come round and have a chat, because it's been years since we met and I want to be on retreat. How does that translate into surface realities? Well, this is your practice. And I could say me too. I would have to get dragged into these Sangha issues and Sangha duties and going to do this and do that, and why can't I just be left to practice on a retreat? I haven't had a retreat for myself in ages. I'm always teaching everybody else, setting up Zoom, this and that, there. And then they ask me to go, and then somebody comes and wants this, and then they get an email from some monk who wants this, that, and the other. Why don't you leave me alone? I can practice. So, Ajahn, I think you need to calm down. It's like this now. It's like this now. Try to find that. Use your retreat practice to build up and strengthen that central understanding. Try to relate to the world. It's that place, because that place, if you like, that place of alignment, that's not itself not a retreat, but we often need to go on a retreat to find it. And surely and it's beautiful if you can find that, even for a little while on a retreat. You need to get that there, and then then you've got to try to sustain that clarity, dispassion, compassion, wisdom in your daily life. This is the enormous question that all of us face. And sometimes that means, it's not about, well, I don't really mind, it's all fine, whatever you want. No, that's not quite right. There's got to be, if you're in a family, there's got to be a relationship. That means your voice has to be heard, his voice has to be heard, her voice has to be heard. We hear this, and it's not like somebody saying, oh, I don't care, I'll give up. No. Where do we understand each other? You have a deep need, you have a deep interest in realization, you want to do this. It doesn't bother me. I like to just want to play golf and do something else. And it'd be nice if I got some bit of company to do that with. I'm trying to say, the quality of love and affection and connection is there. Can I express that to you while remaining in this clarity? Because if I can be clear in myself, which is I actually be a rather better person, and you'll like me better than if I'm stressed out. This is for your welfare. You won't like it. If I'm stressed out, I'm not very nice to be with. I assure you. So this is for everybody's welfare. Can we understand this? You've got to kind of talk it through in some way or another, I think, with these family situations. Let's see where we're. Okay. Of course, then the next question is, how do you maintain this in daily life? Well, this is deep, deep wisdom practice. It means that in that experience of realization, of course it's quiet and peaceful, but look around at what you experience the world as. I mean, your world of memories and thoughts and interests and wishes and this is where the wisdom teaching, the aggregates, these are sometimes difficult terms to get to terms with. Actually, they are very accurate presentations of the Buddha. This is a perception, this is a meaning, this is an impulse, this is a feeling, these are states of consciousness, this is sensation. These are, what are they? When you look at all that, they are just waves, shifting waves. There's no substance in them. And that truth pertains. When you come to the surface, that truth pertains. It's exactly the same. But of course, it's very much masked with colors and shapes and sounds and, oh, that's her, and I really like that, and everybody wants to do that. It's very veiled. But if you see it as it is, As is said, see the world as empty of self, then the Lord of Death will not get you. Mm. Mm. So we have to be very patient, recognizing that we do get involved, and that's part of the learning process. We do get hurt, that's part of the learning process. What's that? Keep your balance. See these forms, these perceptions, these impressions that arise. Yeah, everybody's doing this. Why don't you do it? That's a perception. Yeah. I really feel I got to do this. I got to get this done by 9 o'clock. That's a sankhara. Mm. Yeah, that's that's an energy for feel energy. Doesn't mean you can't do anything. It means you get that, take that edgy, urgent quality out of it. And this, okay, what is a 9 o'clock anyway? What's a 9 o'clock? Has anybody seen a 9 o'clock walking around? I don't see them. That's called a perception. And you're trying to arrive at something called a 9 o'clock, are you? Where is it? All you can say is, no, it's like this. I understand there's something be good to do. I'll do what I can. 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 4 o'clock, these are just ideas. What time is it for you now? When we go to this Zoom reality, I'm in 9 o'clock, they're in 6 o'clock, somebody's in 2 o'clock. Perceptions, aren't they? Yeah. So we start to really and some say, oh, this is good for what's Britain? We can fight over it. And what are you talking about? I don't see any Britain. I see some trees. I see some sky, some weather. I don't see any Britain. And then people come out with this kind of stuff. It creates a kind of conflict, stress. We basically say we live on a planet with air and climate. So the daily language of the world, you begin with clarity. You want to follow that language. And you're beginning to learn that. It's a long learning. But that's why it takes it's many years of practice to integrate that wisdom into how you're living. Someone experiences they love animals, but they accidentally drove over and killed many birds, dogs, duck, chicken, and snake. What should I do to pay back my karma? Will they get my merit if I send metta after my meditation? Yeah, well, in order to, transfer merit, the other person has to listen to it. Yeah. So there's no, you can put it out, but it doesn't land unless the other beings around who can receive it. So whether a snake is going to benefit from it, I don't know. It might be a wise snake. But essentially, if you've accidentally killed creatures, then that means there's no evil intention. So intention is karma. It's the intention to kill that's the karma. The intention, that mental hostility, callousness, violence, dismissiveness. That's the thing there's the karma. That's the thing that impresses itself in the heart. Yeah? Now, if we do things accidentally, then it's not like that. But at the same time, we probably consider, yeah, if I don't feel very good about that, well, then perhaps we need to drive more carefully so we don't have that sense of regret. Someone's been struggling to wake up in the morning to meditate, sleepy while sitting, didn't feel like I want to stand or walk, sometimes even go back to sleep. How to be more disciplined, have the right action and effort. Well, I think you have to realize that what you're saying means you experience a sense of regret. I struggled to wake up in the morning to meditate. Sleepy, didn't feel like I wanted to stand or walk, sometimes go back to sleep. Somehow you feel that's not right. So when you get that feeling that's not right, it's not good, well, maybe, do you want to have that feeling again every day? A feeling of, that you were lazy, or maybe that feeling itself says, come on, make a little bit more effort. Come on. Yeah. A lot of us don't like getting up in the morning, waking up. But come on, you're going to get up, you're going to wake up sooner or later. It's going to happen. So let's do that with a sense of mindfulness. Is the body, mind doesn't feel very good, feel a bit tired and sleepy. Okay, well, at least I'll try. Okay, because I'm going to get up sooner or later. I'd sooner get up with a sense of mindfulness of the situation, then maybe just wash my face, take a walk, freshen up. How's that? You don't have to force yourself to meditate, but maybe just that sense of, coming out of that rather heavy, disorganized state, that already gives you a feeling of some dignity and self-respect. And think, yeah, maybe I'll just walk up and down a little bit and maybe chant something. Perhaps that's all I've got energy for today. Okay, but then you've made that decision from a wise, conscious place rather than just a reaction to dullness, sleepiness. So if you make the decision from a wise, conscious place, then that's your decision. But you don't want to make it from just a kind of negative action, right? How to work with desire for solitude and fear of being forgotten, or fear of loneliness, isolation. Yeah, how do we manage, to the sense of isolation and solitude and loneliness, which is one aspect of being alone. But then the other aspect of it is a chance to have this undisturbed solitude. Yeah, well, I think this is really where we see the need to have a loving heart, even in solitude. That those who are dear to you, those you respect, you carry them in your heart, right? Like that. Yeah. Because eventually, at some level of our multifaceted reality, we are alone. If I drop a hammer on my toe, I'm the one who feels it. Person standing 1 foot away from me, they may sympathize with me. But they didn't get that physical feeling. I did. So on this surface level, we are separate, and I can't get inside somebody else's head or heart and change it. I should, it's not. There is that. That's the limitation of this. That's why the world is sometimes sad. One feels helpless in it to really help each other. But, if you use the solitude to generate, solid, then you use it skillfully. And what is loneliness? Who are that feeling of not getting that sort of cheerful, interesting, mingling experience that most of us have missed this last year or so? It's just a sense of, hi, how you doing? Let's have a chat, and suddenly not being able to do that. It's a kind of, that's chilling. That's chilling, isn't it? The chilling effect. So to put even more attitude towards, loving kindness, bringing people to mind. You know, it's solitude, it's loneliness when there's a closure. And naturally, if there's conflict or that mind closes, that closure has a cold, hard effect. And you experience loneliness in the middle of a crowd of people. You know, some of the loneliest people live in cities. It's not there's nobody around, it's just there's closure. You know, you hear of people who die in London in a flat, and the person next door doesn't know who they are. Nobody knows them. They've lived alone. Nobody's visited. Nobody knows. They live in a box. And then one day somebody finds out they're dead. Who is he? I don't know. Does he relatives? We don't know. We don't know anything about him. You know, people can be lonely in the middle of other people because there's closure. And when there's openness, there may be the sense of, oh, I wonder how so-and-so is, or it'd be nice to meet so-and-so. But that sense of, sorrow, we try to practice with that, with metta, karuna, mudita, upekkha, sending the blessings, bringing them to mind, so we don't have that closure that is one of the signs of the surface world, of the sensory world. It has that sign, suddenly she's dead. Oh my goodness, closed on that level. This is why we share merit and chanting, devotions, to keep the field very open. Someone has some, mother has a long-term issue, always complains about everyone, getting worse when she gets older. Enjoys talking in a harmless, jealous and disruptive way, lies. Seems to be 99% of her personality traits. It's hard to me to maintain my calmness. How can I dislike her less? Well, yeah. You should, you should, but just remember, you can move away your mother. I can't move away from herself. What kind of mind, what kind of heart is happening there for that person? You can walk out the door and go somewhere else. She can't leave herself. She's in that. What kind of mind state, what kind of mental attitudes are bringing those conditions of jealousy or complaining to mind? Is she suffering? Sounds like it. Is she getting to realize the truth of it? Doesn't sound like it. Is she managing to, get out of pain? I don't think so. Shouldn't you regard them with compassion? So it's not calmness that's required. It's understanding and wisdom. Not calm. Calm is not that important. It's not as important as wisdom. Wisdom, seeing things as they are, brings compassion. Calm doesn't bring compassion necessarily. It's just a nice quality that helps, supportive. But wisdom is the important thing. Seeing things as they are. And then that's not a mother. That's a mind. That's a karmic field in its unhappiness and tumult that you're witnessing. Regard it with a mind of compassion. And of course, look after yourself. Yeah. If it's very distressful for you, you have to find a way to, that's enough now. No point be getting more stirred up. That's enough now. Most relationships, all relationships with other people need some space. And sometimes people don't really know. And they want to get close. No, some space is needed. Otherwise, we get all meshed up with each other and then tangled, and stuff can get very unpleasant. Some spaces need, sometimes a lot of space is needed. Yeah. Sometimes some space, you need some space, and sometimes you need quite a lot of space just to say, okay, that's that space, I've got room, I'm not pressed against the wall, you know, okay, let her be the way she is. And I just got to withdraw to where I can find my own balance. Yeah. And that's compassionate, because if I get involved and I start getting nasty to her, angry or upset or feeling fed up, depressed, that's no good. Get to a place where, okay, that particular amount of connection, amount of involvement, amount of engagement, amount of conversation, that is manageable, and keep that pleasant and caring. I can manage that. And that's up for you to negotiate that degree of space. It is the most important thing. If you get the right space, you're bound to have affection and compassion and clarity. It happens naturally. If you don't get the right space, it's a mess up. That's how it is, in my opinion. That's what I say. But find out what works for you. Okay, let's take a pause now, and hope some of this has been stimulating in the right way. As I said, I don't really find answers. I find responses that may help you to find your answers. And if any of that has landed in a good place, I feel very happy. If it hasn't landed in a good place, I'll ask for your compassion and tolerance. I have my limitations. Take good care, and we'll meet again in a while.